One of the things that people don't always think enough about when they're contemplating their performance in the interview is how they're going to use their body and their hands. And it is important. It does matter because it sends messages about your confidence, about your competence. And remember that when we're talking about you're trying to establish that you're a credible resource, that you are going to be the right person for whatever it is that you're being interviewed, whatever position you're being interviewed to fill. And so you want to come across in the right ways. You want to show enthusiasm, you want to show confidence, but you also don't want to be overbearing. So initially, most often in the interview, you'll be seated. And initially, you want to make sure you just have good posture. It gives credibility when you have a good, strong, seated posture, that you're not slouched, that you're not slumped, certainly that you're not leaned back away from the interviewer or spread out and taking up lots of extra space, but rather that you're sitting upright, that you're in control with a slight lean forward. As far as body lean, one of the things that you'll find is that often the interviewer will lean a little bit toward you as they ask you the questions, and it's a good idea to respond in kind. If you find that they don't do any leaning, you might do a very slight lean, because one of the things that we know from nonverbal studies is that behavioral matching is important. So when they see you behaving physically in ways similar to how they're behaving, then they're going to see that as a positive. They're going to see you as similar to them, and similarity enhances liking, liking enhances credibility. So match their behavior to some extent. You want at least a little bit of lean forward, but again, not a slouching lean, but a slight tilt as you're answering the questions, as you're responding to the things that they're asking of you. And so that's the body. Have a good upright posture, lean slightly forward, especially when you're listening to the question being asked and when you're answering the questions that they've given you, also especially if they are leaning a little bit toward you. So match the behavior that you're seeing. Now, in terms of gestures, the most important thing is to be natural, unless you know that there are particular idiosyncrasies that you have in your gesturing behavior. If you know that you tend to be more of a flailer with your gestures, that your hands are wildly expressive when you're talking in everyday conversation, you'll want to control that. So you might want your hands on your lap or your hands at your side, where you're not tempted to flail the air with your gestures. On the other hand, if you know that you're a confident gesturer, if you know that you tend to use them in effective and assertive ways, then it's good to keep your hands on the table or the desk, or if it's just you, sort of in open space, on your lap, but ready to be brought up to gesture. Because remember, the only gestures that are really useful are the ones that are above the waist, that are high enough to be seen, or in the case where you have a table or a desk above the table, where those gestures can be seen. So be confident, be assertive, know if you have idiosyncrasies that you need to avoid, and when you practice interviewing, practice how you use gestures. Ask your mock interviewer to watch the way that you're using nonverbals, especially your hands, and know that they're working in your favor and not against you. As long as your gestures are being used to show assertiveness, to show confidence, to show support for the answers that you're giving, that's going to be useful. If they distract from the things that you're saying, or if they make you seem as if you are idiosyncratic in ways that might not be fitting for the job for which you're applying, then obviously those are to be avoided.